everybody. I've been away from YouTube for about 7 weeks, maybe close to 2 months now. Last video I did was about growing your potatoes. I was actually preparing my follow-up to that when I chose on August 15th to come to this beach right here, Seaside Park in New Jersey. This is the Jersey Shore. And it was between 6 and 7 p.m. that my life changed pretty much forever. Here's my story. As I mentioned, I came here, sat down, looked out at the ocean like I like to do, because the ocean was a very important place for me to have peace, calm, and everything else. I love water. However, on this day, I chose to go into the water waist deep. And when I went into the water waist deep, I laid back on the noodle and just floated to look up at the sky for approximately a couple of minutes only. Then I was going to turn around and get out of the water and prepare to leave and go back home and work on my next YouTube video. That's when everything changed completely. And it's so important that I share it with you, because you may need to understand how important it is here to be safe, and how important your life is, because it can be gone just like that. I'm sorry I'm not smiling. I just want you to definitely get what I'm trying to say. On this day, when I laid down on the water for a couple of minutes looking up at the sky, I was just totally in at peace. Next thing I know, I looked around while still laying on my back, and I may have been 25 yards already away from the sand. For those that know me very closely, know that I acquired a lung disease that has never been diagnosed, but it is very complicated to exert myself for an extended period of time and not be completely out of breath. So, while I was out there, realizing that I was now 25 yards out from the sand, I decided to go ahead and start backstroking my way back. Like I normally do, just to, relax. And I burnt a little bit of energy doing that. And then I looked to see where I was, and I was even maybe 10 yards further out. At that point in time, I realized that I was in a rip current. Let me repeat that. At that point in time, I realized I was in a rip current. The rip current pretty much took over if I stayed in that path, and it could have kept driving me out to sea. However, I did try to swim parallel to the sand. When I attempted to do that, a wave came, pushed me back straight like this. And at this point, I'm already trying to swim on my stomach, realizing now that I'm even going further out. At this point, I am extremely tired and fatigued and losing oxygen. I attempted one more time to swim parallel to the sand and got hit with another wave, which then knocked my glasses off. And believe it or not, my glasses landed in my hand, and I was able to adjust them and put them back on. At this moment, I may be 40 yards out at least from the sand. I came to the realization that I was not going to make it back to the sand, and I was not going to let go of that noodle that I had originally laid back on. I'm already gassed. I'm starting to feel a major heart throb in my neck. I'm gasping for air like I'm having the worst asthma attack in the world. I just want to kind of give you an idea what that is. I muster up enough strength to get the words help. And I tried to get the words all the way to the sand, help. I did that 2, 3, maybe even 4 times to the best of my ability. Because when you can't breathe, you can't talk. I looked at the sand, totally fatigued out and starting to lose focus and mental strength, and everything else is starting to decline. And people looked about 1 to 2 feet tall. So I knew I had drifted out even a little further. I looked right and saw a Hispanic male approaching me. He was far off in the distance, but he was approaching me. A wave came and knocked me to the point where I was looking left. And off in the distance, I saw a white young male on a little surfboard coming towards me, but he was off in the distance. And at that point in time, folks, I said to myself, if they get to me, I'll help them get me to the sand. That was probably the last thought I processed as I started to die. I had already felt my neck throbbing as though it was my heartbeat. I already had no more strength, no more oxygen. I was beginning to just resign to the fact that that ocean right there was my coffin. And I said to myself, I guess this is it. I looked back to my right. I looked with every energy to turn my neck as I could. And this Hispanic male, and I wish I could say man, but the only reason why I'm saying the white young man and the Hispanic male, and I identify as African American, is because we are in a United States of America that sees color. And I want you guys to know right now that in that moment, there was not an African American that came to me. There was not a mixed race person that identified himself as African American that came to me. It was people outside of how I identify. And I am so thankful that, number one, I served this country honorably for over 20 years. And I'm so thankful that 2 great Samaritans at that moment jumped into the water and rescued me, pulled me out of that water, and spared my life by less than 20 seconds. My sister's ashes were put in that ocean 25 years ago. I almost joined her. I was within seconds of joining her. I was not coming out of that water alone. There was no way in hell I was getting out of that water. People had to come to me. And in that moment, the only thing that mattered between 3 people, one that was about to lose his life and in the midst of losing it, and the other 2 was life. At some point in time, that individual hit me right in my ribs here, and his head showed up here. And at that point in time, I knew that somebody had made contact with me. Let me be very clear to you as I say this to you. I was dying. There is no process at this point for me. There's none. I know that he was there because I saw him and I felt him immediately when he hit me. After that, the way we started to lean, I could see the white young man on that surfboard closing in. After that, they literally dragged me out of the water from that far out all the way to the sand. I may have been one step outside of the water and I collapsed. I remember being hit in the face with a bunch of cold water. I remember someone putting an oxygen mask on my face as I was on the ground. Soon, I started to regain my complete consciousness, and I started to look around, and I knew that there was help there. I knew that there was caring souls there, and they attended to me and eventually got me off the beach and got me into the emergency room, where I stayed, for hours and into the next day and hours that day. I don't know those two people that came and rescued me out of the water. I don't know who they are. And it saddens me that I don't know who they are. I went to war for this country, and they went into the water for me. The only thing I can tell you is that if I ever get a chance to thank those two people and a couple of other people for saving, and I hate to say saving, because really they rescued me so I could be revived. But for the audience, I'll just say save my life, because for the first time, I couldn't save my own life. In that ocean there, I was dying. If they hadn't got to me within 20 seconds of the time that they did, and if they hadn't gotten me to the sand within 20 seconds of when they did, and if there was no EMS to put oxygen on me and people to start to care for me when they did, I'd be dead. This video right here would not be happening. I'm gonna tell you this. Since it was between 6 and 7 p.m. on August 15th when this happened, lifeguard had already went home at 5 p.m. Those two men that came into the water were not good Samaritans. They were great Samaritans, and they may have been God's angels. I want to thank you for watching this video. And before you ever go to the beach again, find out the local rip current conditions, because a rip current will kill you. A rip current will kill the best swimmers. A rip current will kill the most healthiest individuals. And since I had already put myself in danger by not paying attention, it cost me nearly my life. Thank you, folks. Have a great day.